Yet another busy day for both Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump on the trail in battleground states today. And continuing with a series of media appearances, Trump has two town halls airing today, one with an audience of women and one with Latino voters. Meanwhile, Harris will sit down for her first formal interview with Fox News. Our Cristian Benavides is in Doral, Florida, with more on the candidates' movements today. So, Cristian, IVF treatment has been a big issue in this election. It came under threat following the overturning of Roe versus Wade, and that's something that Trump proudly takes credit for. But when discussing women's rights yesterday, he had this to say.
Remember this issue has torn this country apart for 52 years. So we got it back in the states. We have a vote of the people, and it's working its way through the system. And ultimately, it's going to be the right thing. And IVF, you had mentioned before, right, IVF.
Let's get this question, because I believe that's what this is about.
Oh, I want to talk about IVF. I'm the father.
You don't hear that every day.
I'm the father of IVF, so I want to hear this question.
So you heard there the former president calling himself the father of IVF. Meanwhile, Vice President Harris had this to say about those comments.
I found it to be quite bizarre. Actually, he called himself the father of IVF. And if what he meant is taking responsibility, well, then, yeah, he should take responsibility for the fact that 1 in 3 women in America lives in a Trump abortion ban state.
So, Cristian, what can we make of Trump's comments, particularly that idea that he's a father of IVF, or he's the father of IVF?
Well, it's always difficult to sort of piece together some of what the former president tries to say, but I think what he means to say is, and what has been reported out there, is that he clearly feels that this is a vulnerability for him. He feels that what happened with Roe v. Wade, he wants to take credit for it, but we've seen how some of the voting that has taken place nationwide when it comes to abortion ballot measures has gone completely the opposite way of what the former president had been hoping for, which is why we've been seeing his stance sort of shifting. Even here in Florida, where he is planning to vote, we've got an abortion ballot measure here to decide whether or not, right now in Florida, you've got the abortion is allowed up till 6 weeks. And right now that's currently up for a vote, and it's up for a vote in 2.5 weeks, along with the presidential election. And the former president has been wobbly on which way he would vote on that, saying at one point that he would vote to repeal the 6-week abortion ban, and then immediately the next day backtracking on it. So he clearly sees this as a vulnerability, abortion, IVF, and he is in a way, I think, with his comments, trying to reclaim that. But it's unclear whether voters are necessarily buying what he's saying.
Well, and he'll have perhaps an opportunity to try and clarify it in his town hall with Univision in Florida today. Oh, talk to us a little bit about how Trump is doing with Latino voters.
Well, look, the former president holding a town hall with Latino voters. In fact, it's taping as we speak. And what's been interesting to see is that despite his hardline stance on immigration, his support among Latino voters has grown. In fact, according to recent polling, he could be the first president, if he were to be elected in 20 years, or the first presidential candidate on the Republican side in 20 years to win Miami-Dade County and to win the Latino vote in Miami-Dade County. And that's where the polls have been trending so far. Recently, during the midterm elections in 2022, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis won Miami-Dade County, and he's been winning Latino support overwhelmingly. That does not mean that nationally that translates to the national level. We've seen the most recent polling, about 54% of Latino voters going towards Vice President Kamala Harris. So we see that nationally, the Harris campaign is doing better with Latino voters, but Latino voters have been, again, trending to the right, particularly in the last few elections, certainly here in Florida.
All right. And of course, we're also going to be watching as Harris sits down for her first official interview with Fox News. Cristian Benavides, thank you.